Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Retired Guys Garage. I'm Jeff Richter. My wife Carla is here with us this morning because we're going to be working on this beast. And you're asking, well, what the heck? That's not nothing mechanical. Well, technically it is. Got a lot of mechanical systems in here, much like a car. So, and unfortunately, what we're going to be working on here over the next couple of days is it has two electrical systems in it. It has a 110 volt system, just like your house does. And it also has a 12 volt system, just like a car does. So what has happened is the part that runs off of 110 volts, your house current, to charge the battery, the 12 volt system, and run the 12 volt system has gone bad. It's called a power inverter. So that there's a inverter portion of it, and there's also a charging side of it. Unfortunately, the charging side has gone bad. So that's what we're going to be working on today, and over the next couple of days, I got to get the part ordered. I'm just not sure what I need yet. So we're also trying to beat the rain, and probably not doing a very good job of it. Probably should have started way earlier than we did, but it's a lazy Sunday, and we got started late. So got to get everything out of the basement storage compartment here, and that's what we're going to work on first, and then we'll get the walls out so we can get to that inverter. So stick with me, and we'll get right to it. All right. So we got the basement storage cleaned out. Carl and I were at a campground in Statesboro with our friends Wayne and Katie. You might ask, well, how did you figure out that something went wrong? Well, when we went to leave Statesboro to hook up to the truck, the battery was completely dead. So I was like, oh, this is not good, because the front of the camper was too low to get the truck up underneath it to hook up into the fifth wheel. So luckily, I was able to, we were able to plug the camper into the truck with the power cable, with the 7-way power cable. And there's actually a 12 volt feed from the truck in that plug that fed the battery enough to charge it enough to be able to get the camper raised up far enough that we could get the truck up underneath it. Going down, easy. Lifting, not so much. It takes a lot more amps to lift this thing. So that's what we did. We were very lucky. We were able to get it up and get it home. So, but that's what we did. That's what precipitated this and what caused us to realize that there was something going on that's not right. So, the other thing we're going to put in, is we're going to put a voltage, meter in it. That's going to hook up to the battery, a voltage monitoring panel, I guess you would call it. I'm getting both of these pieces off of Amazon. We'll go ahead and order them. The voltage monitor, very cheap. I think it's a, I don't know, $15 or $20 part. The voltage inverter, not so much. A little more expensive. I think we're going to end up spending, I don't know, what did we figure out, about $250, $60, $70 like that, for it.
Close to it.
But, we got to have it. So, and for those of you that are interested, the two of you that are watching right now, this is our 2008 Heartland Cyclone. So, I mean, you expect stuff to go wrong. I mean, it happens. What are you going to do? I mean, it's a what is it, 16-year-old camper. So, but it's our home away from home when we get to use it. And actually, Carla's going to have to use it next month for work. And then we'll be going up to Willow Valley Campground in
Dillard.
Thank you.
Dillard, Georgia.
Dillard, Georgia. Boy, it really sucks getting old. The memory starts to go. But we'll be up there for 4th of July. So want to get that, make sure we get this fixed so that it's working properly. And also while I'm in here behind this wall, so the power converter, the power inverter, there's a difference, is behind this wall, bolted to the floor, screwed into the floor. And I'm not exactly sure what I need yet, so we'll have to get the wall out, and of course I'll take you with me for that as well. But we did want to give you a little teaser. Carl and I talked about it, and we are going to do a video here soon about, I mean, a lot of you are just getting started. I mean, we started in 06.
Yeah, we've been camping for 18 years together, and I remember back when we started, the must-haves and the things that were worth a lot, things that weren't, and the things that we can do to help make it easier for you. The biggest thing was for me is that I don't want to take anything but our clothes and food out. So we, over the years now, and we've had 6 campers.
No,
since we
yeah.
started, something like that.
Something like that.
So as you know, as we've aged, and now we have grandkids coming with us camping, so making sure that we have those must-haves. My big thing is that as soon as we get back, I have laundry baskets, and then I have totes, and all of our stuff gets washed, folded up, and ready to come back in the camper, and everything stays. I have towels, we have all of that. So we're going to kind of walk you through our camper and let you know the things that we think are important, and you may or may not need it, but it's always good because I don't want to be stressed about what I've got to pack and what, oh my gosh, I forgot this. And that's what we've learned over the course of 18 years of multiple camping trips, and how much fun we have, because this is my happy place, and this is what I love doing more than anything, especially with the family. So these are some things that we're going to show you that may or may not work for you, but we're hoping that you'll enjoy the ride with us, because this is something that we love doing as a family.
So stay tuned for that video. That's coming up in, let's see, one, two, three. This will be a couple weeks down the road, but that's well, we're going to do that one here. Actually, I think we might film that one next weekend if we have enough time. So won't be long, but you know, it'll be a lot of the must-haves and maybe not must-haves that the folks, the
tips and tricks to make it easier.
The folks at you know, the big box camping stores tell you need, but
don't necessarily.
Maybe not so much.
Yes.
So anyway, stay tuned for that video. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get this wall out of here real quick, and let's see what inverter I'm gonna have to order, and so we can get this thing fixed. And the other thing I'm gonna do while I'm in there, and this will be part of the tips and tricks video, is water filters. We did the normal thing that everybody does, but I decided to go one step further, and we'll take you for the ride on that one. That'll be part of the next tips and tricks video. But as long as I've got that wall out, I've got onboard water filtration system, a 2-stage onboard water filtration system that I've got to go. I change the filters out once a year, and every spring I change the filters, and it's time to do that. And while I've got that wall out, I'm going to do that as well. So stay tuned. I'll be right back, and we'll get into this. Appreciate you watching. So what is going to have to come off is this middle panel right here. This one will stay in place, and the one on the other end, there's 3 pieces back here that gain access to the underbelly, so to speak, of the camper itself. So I'll go ahead and get this middle board out, and the inverter, I believe, is going to be right behind this, if I remember correctly, because there's a fan on the inverter that helps keep it cool. So, all right, well, let's get this thing unbolted and find out what we got back there. So stick with me. I'll be right back. So this is the belly of the beast, so to speak. So yeah, this is where a lot of the wiring sits. It comes to a meeting point, so to speak, for the RV. The fuse panel and circuit panel is right back there. I know you probably can't see it, but this right here is the bad boy we're going to be talking about. So this is the power inverter. I keep saying that wrong, and I'll get it straight at some point. Trust me, I will. So I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but these blue canisters back here, these are the 2-stage water filtration system that I installed back a few years ago. We were using the inline water filters for the longest time, and we just got tired of using them, and thought it would be better to have a 2-stage filtration system on board instead of the throwaways. So, but this is the bad boy right here that has gone bad, I assume. So you can see there's a 110 plug right there that plugs in, and some wiring back there that we'll get to. But yeah, that's it. So I got to find out what amperage it is. I needed to know whether it was a plug-in or a hardwire to order the new one, and it looks like the one I found on Amazon originally. I kind of remembered what it looked like, and I think this is the one I've got saved in the cart is the one we're going to need. So let me get in here. I got to crawl in here and you know, let's face it, I'm old, so it's going to take me a minute to get to get in here, and I'll reposition the camera so I can see what I'm talking about. Stick with me. All right, so this is an IntelliPower 9200 series, and I am not going to lie, this is a big boy. It is, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but right back here, it is an 80 amp unit, and I don't remember even seeing an 80 amp unit, so I apologize for the camera bouncing around, but yeah, right over on the right hand side of the screen there, you can see it. It's an 80 amp unit. So yeah, so there's going to be two wires here that hook that we're going to have to disconnect in order to get this thing out of here. Of course, I'm going to disconnect the power to the camper. I'm also going to turn off the battery power so that there's absolutely no power in the camper whatsoever. And then get these wires disconnected. And I think there's going to be a couple wires on the backside that are going to have to come out of there too as well. See these two wires right here. I think at least this black one, I believe this black one is attached to the back of this inverter somewhere. I don't think the yellow one is. I think that's something else. So, and then the voltage monitor panel will go inside. And of course, I'll drop links to all this stuff down at the bottom. But what I am going to do before I go too far is see if maybe I just got lucky and maybe see if one of these 30 amp fuses might have blown. Think I get that lucky? Probably not. But anyway, it shouldn't be too bad of an exchange once I get the new one here. You know, these are just bolted in, and then on the back side as well. So actually, you know what that other wire is? This black wire is actually the plug for it. I just remembered that. So you can, yep, call me an idiot, because that's exactly what that is. So this is a plug-in model, plugs right in, and that's what that black wire is for. That's just the power wire for it. So, and then so yeah, so this shouldn't be too bad. It looks like there's, you know, a screw here, maybe another one back here somewhere, possibly. Not sure. And then there's probably another one back there that I probably am not going to be able to get to because, you know, I installed the onboard vacuum cleaner right there below it, which in hindsight, probably not smart, but it was a good place to put it anyway. But we'll get it out. Anyhow, stick with me, and let me go in and I'm going to snap a picture of this, this sticker on here that tells me everything I need to know about it, and go find a new one. So stick with me. All right, welcome back. So I did go ahead and just to double check myself and make sure it wasn't something else. I did check all those fuses; they were all good. Unfortunately, I thought maybe I'd get lucky and the problem would be a 20-cent fuse, but that's just not the way my luck goes these days. Anyway, and I also did go ahead and went inside, double checked the 50 amp breaker. I knew it was going to be good. The 50. Well, 100 amp main breaker, I guess it is, 50 amps per leg. I went in and checked that just to double check it, make sure that hadn't tripped, and it hadn't. I did actually go ahead and shut it off and turn it back on, try and reset it, and that didn't fix it either. So we are going to be looking for an inverter and an 80 amp IntelliPower inverter. Oof. This is not going to be cheap, I can tell you already. I'm almost afraid to start looking around because the biggest one I found for IntelliAmp or IntelliPower brand, which would be a exact replacement for that one, I think was 60 amp, and that one's 80. So let's go look on the old Amazon website and see what we can find. Stick with me, I'll be right back. So went ahead and started, actually just went ahead and did some double checking under here. Wanted to make sure I had 110 volts there, ish, because if there's no power at that socket, then there's no power to run the inverter. So I double checked to make sure there was power there, which there is. There's 110 volts there. And then the other thing I wanted to double check to see is what the output was on these wires, because that should be, because the output
if you remember earlier in the video, this output should be about 13.9, 13.89, 13.9 volts. And it is exactly at battery voltage. Actually, it's a little bit less than battery voltage. It's at 11.89 volts or something like that right now. So it is clearly not charging, which is not good. So going to be spending some money this week. Stay tuned.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Retired Guy's Garage. I'm Jeff Richter. All right. Well, we are back on the camper repair, and the new power converter came in yesterday, actually. So we're going to get that put in today, and we're also going to go ahead and change out the water filters, even though they don't look that bad, but they've been in there about a year, so time to change those out. So we'll do that today. Get this thing ready for the camping season, and then going to need a good bath, and the roof needs to be washed, and yada yada yada. So no time to waste. Let's get to it. Unfortunately, the converter was a bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be. Wowza! Almost closing in on $400 for that bad boy. So not a cheap part, but hey, you know, I mean, the camper's an '08, and you know, it lasted this long. So I mean, 16 years. Guess you really can't complain about that, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Got the new one. I'll get you flipped around here in just a second. We'll show you what the new one looks like, and let's get this thing put in, and hopefully it'll take care of the problem. So stick with me. All right, so here is the new unit. It is an exact replacement, although it does look a little bit smaller than the old one. Of course, it is 16 years newer than the old one, so looks like we're going to have to do some finagling to maybe remount this in there. So that looks like it's going to be fun. Yeah, it is an 80 amp replacement, just like the old one was. So, and that is going to go right up in there. Like I said, it does look quite a bit smaller than the old one, so looks like this might be fun. Yay! Can't wait. It'll be all right. All right, let's get started on this. And like I said, we're also going to go ahead and change those water filters out as well. So I'm going to disconnect the power from it. The camper is still plugged in, but I'm going to disconnect the power from it, so that way there's no power going through it. So stick with me. Let's get this thing put in. All right. So I'm not sure if you can really see it all that well, but there's a screw right there. Right there. And then there's another one on the back side of it as well that are going to have to come out. Luckily, these holes are slotted, so I'm going to just be able to loosen up that back screw, and then just have to take this one out altogether. And then I'm going to have to put in a new one, because like I said, this new charger, this new converter is quite a bit smaller in size than the old one. Same amperage and all that stuff, but a little bit smaller in physical size. So we're going to have to change that rear mounting location. So, but that's all right. And then just have to take these two wires off right here. These are the 12 volt output feeds that feed the battery. So, and then there's right here, you can see this ground wire that goes around to the back side of the converter, and there's just a ground lug that holds that in, so we'll have to take that out as well. But I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to that while it's still in the camper, while it's still up in place, or if I'll have to wait until I get it down and get that ground lug loosened up and get that ground wire out of there. So stick with me. Let's get this out of here. All right, so we've got it out, and boy, I'll tell you what, somebody was not joking when they tightened down that ground lug. Holy cow. Ended up having to get the vice grips out to get that one loose, but yeah, well, okay, but it's out. And now I'm just going to kind of set this new one up there and see where I'm going to mount it. Because it is, like I said, size-wise, at least, you know, external dimensions of it are quite a bit smaller than this one. But like I said, this one is, you know, it's 16 years old, so that's not surprising. But so let's get this new one up there and see where I'm gonna mount it, and we'll go from there. Stick with me. All right. Well, got the two output wires for the 12 volt connected. And as I suspected, going to have to put some new holes in here, because it's going to have to move it around a little bit to get the new one to mount up there. So, and I'm going to have to reroute the ground wire also around the back side of that water hose right there to make so it'll sit up there a little bit easier. So I'm not going to hook that up right now, but for right now I'm going to go get a marker and put up a couple of marks in this aluminum frame here to get some new mounting screws mounted up in there. So all right, stick with me and we'll get those screws in there and get this thing mounted up and get her plugged in, and hopefully she works. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up in place up against these aluminum rails here where I want to mount it, and then I'm just going to take the marker and mark it because it's going to be easier to have this out of the way in order to get the screw started, because there's not a lot of room in here, unfortunately, because I mounted the onboard vacuum when I put that on right in the way. So Murphy's Law. Anyway, but so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it up in place there. I won't be able to hold the camera and show you that, but I'm going to mark the spots where the screws need to go with a marker, and then take the unit back out again and run the screws in there and get this thing mounted. And then I also have a voltage monitor system that I bought with this. Not sure if I'm going to use it or not. It has a lot of Chinese writing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just saying that, might not use it. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or not. I may get a system. I may get one that's just a little bit less complicated. Looks like it's a lot of work to put it in, but we'll see what happens. But let's get this in first. All right, as you can see, got it mounted up in there. All screws are tightened down. I was actually able to move it back just a hair to give these wires a little bit more room to fall into place here. I thought I was going to regret not putting that ground cable on before I put that up there, because as I was taking it apart, the ground lug screw back there came out altogether. So that was so I was kind of working blind back there trying to get that put back in, but it all worked out just fine. Like I said, I routed this ground cable back behind this water line so that it wouldn't be pushing on that water line all the time. So I see that I kind of got this kind of close right here. I may wrap this water line with some type of insulation just to make sure it doesn't rub through on the inverter or converter. I'm sorry. So all right, let's. The only other problem I may have, we're going to find out here in just a second, is the power wire may be a little bit shorter than the old one, and may not reach all the way over to here where the electrical outlet is. So let's see, we may have to move that up in this area someplace. But let me see, let me get that run. I can't do that with holding the camera and trying to get that plugged in. So be right back. All right, so we are installed. This, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, this is some kind of a remote control pendant thing. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it says you can change modes or something with it. I'm gonna have to look into this further, but this does plug into the side of the unit right here. And luckily I was able to make the cord work that it would stretch over, so I didn't, I shouldn't say stretch, but it ended up being long enough to make it to where make it to the outlet where it was originally set. So didn't have to move the outlet, which is always good. All right, now if you remember, all right, you're gonna look right here. If you remember correctly from earlier on in the video, the output voltage of the old converter was, and I knew that was going to happen because these cords are all tangled up. The output voltage on the old converter was 11 point, I believe 89 or something like that. Something very close to that, if you remember. And now, as you'll be able to see, we're going to go up to the DC output voltage of the converter, positive and negative, And as you can see, we're at 13, hopefully my big fat head's not in the way, but 13.69 volts. So we are working, and that is a good sign because we need the scamper next month. So all in all, not a bad install. I mean, it took me about an hour or so, but we'll talk about that once I'm not laying on my back and probably blocking that screen so you can't see it. But so there you have it. I'm going to look at that pendant. I'm actually going to plug it in and mount it out here somewhere so I can get to it. And look into what exactly that does because I'm not exactly sure. So stick with me and we will figure that out. And also we're going to figure out we're going to take a look at that voltage monitor and see if we can get that installed also. So stick with me. I will be right back. All right, so we've got the IntelliPower Charge Wizard pendant mounted right here on the outside, so it's easy to get to. I've just gone ahead and stapled. Kind of looks like, for those of you that might be, not quite so young anymore, you remember the old telephone cables. Well, that's kind of what this looks like. It kind of looks like a telephone cord from the old, from the old landlines. So just stapled it up in place, ran it around here to the backside, and it runs over to the unit and plugs into the side of it. So I am going to scan that QR code. About a year or so ago, I really didn't even know what that meant, but now I do. So I'm going to go ahead and scan that QR code. I'm actually going to read through the instructions real quick. It says it can, the little bit I read about it says it can change modes on the converter. So I'm not quite sure what that means. But I'm going to read up on that and find out. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this voltage monitor, see what that looks like, and see if that's going to be how much fun that's going to be to put in. So I'm going to take a look at that, and because I really feel as though I should, so as to not have this problem again, kind of know if this thing's not charging at some point in time down the road. So I think that would probably be a really good installation. So let me take a look at that voltage monitor panel and see where I'm going to mount it to start with. So I haven't really figured that out yet. So stick with me and we'll get that mounted. I actually may go ahead and change out those water filters right quick before I get too far back into this electrical stuff. So stick with me and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. This is the battery that was originally in the camper, which I thought it was no good, so I replaced it with one of the old batteries out of the truck because I just put 2 new batteries in the truck. Again, not cheap, I might add, just saying. But so this is the old battery, and when I say old, I mean this is a little over a year old battery, marine deep cycle battery. So I've got it on the reconditioner phase on my charger. So hopefully I'm going to be able to bring this battery back around in just a minute here. I neglected to check the water in the battery, make sure that was full. But when I plugged this thing up, it only had 1.76 volts on it. So I don't know if it's going to come back around or not. I hope it does because, like I said, the battery's only a year old, and it was not cheap to begin with. Like I said, the AGM battery that I've got in there that come out of the truck, not cheap either. But I mean, I think it's got a production date on of 17 or something, 2017 or something. So it's a fairly old battery, about 7 years old. Is it really that old? Wow. I lied. 2019. So it's about a 5-year-old battery. So probably about at the end of its service life, and certainly wasn't enough to kick the diesel over anymore on the colder mornings here in Georgia. So replaced it with 2 new batteries. Walmart. I love Walmart for batteries. I always buy my batteries at Walmart. So got 2 max starts, or I don't know, whatever I put in there, but 2 new batteries in the truck. So there's 2 old batteries I had laying around, luckily, that still had 12 volts in them, surprisingly. So that's what I've been running the power in the camper up with right now. For the time being, I'm hoping this battery will come around. So this is the voltage monitor I was talking about. Like I said, there seems to be some writing that I do not understand on here, but they do have some instructions. Fairly small unit, so not that big at all, but it will monitor all kinds of stuff, voltage and amperage and all kinds of different stuff. So that's what this is. I just haven't figured out. Ultimately, I would like to mount this inside the camper on the wall just outside the bathroom where all the other monitor panels are, but I'm not quite sure how much of a ordeal that's going to be to run wires underneath the floors and behind the walls and everything else inside the camper. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. I may just mount this in the basement storage area where I put that pendant. But looks like it needs to be mounted in something fairly thin. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. But anyway, that's what this is. I'm going to look through the instructions on this, and I'm also going to look through the instructions on that pendant while I'm off camera to see what it does. But this thing's got like, this is a bus bar, and I'm sure that with all that heavy duty metal and stuff on there, that looks pretty important. So that looks like it might need some heavy duty wiring. I'm not sure. So, but we'll look at the instructions and find out and see if we're going to put that in or not. So stick with me. I'll be right back. This is apparently called a shunt. And what you have to do with this is you actually have to break the negative side cable going into the inverter in order to be able to measure amp draw. So that's what we're going to have to do. So we're going to have to cut the cable and crimp on some leads, some lug ends to each side, and then put this in line. And then there are two wires right here that go to the back of that meter display, voltmeter and amp meter display. So those are two wires. There's 4 wires on the back of that display panel, 2 wires from here, and then 2 wires of power and ground from battery voltage. So this is going to tell you what amp draw is, and then the other 2 wires will tell you what voltage is. So that's how this thing goes in. Still trying to figure out where I'm going to put it because I haven't really decided. If I put it up where I want to put it on the bathroom, outside the bathroom door, on the wall where all the rest of the displays are, I'm going to have to figure out how to run wires all the way through the camper underneath in the basement and out to the converter. So I'm not really sure how tough a job that's going to be. But I'll take a look at that now and see what it looks like. And if not, I may end up just having to put that on the outside, in the basement storage, maybe right above where I put the that little key fob thing that does something that I still haven't figured out what yet. But I'll figure that out and we'll get to it. But anyway, that's where we're at. I got to figure out where I'm going to put it first, and then we'll get to putting it in. Stay with me. So this, I guess I should say, is a 2-stage water filtration system that I installed several years ago. And I like it because it's permanently attached. We used to use the ones, the inline disposable filters that everybody uses at the campgrounds. But I had the wall off one day, this panel off one day, and I said, So I ordered one of these. I think I got it off Amazon. I'd like to say I could drop a link for it, but I really don't even remember where I got it. I think I got it on Amazon, but I couldn't be sure. May have been eBay. I'm not positive, but it was fairly cheap. I think it was $50 if I remember correctly. But all I did was run the line from the city water inlet, the backside, to here, and then out into the camper. So it was just installed in line. But when I put it in, I kind of screwed up because I didn't mount it high enough. And every year I struggle getting these canisters off because they're only maybe that far off the floor of the camper. So I think I am going to get motivated this year, and I am going to move this up
about an inch if I can, just so that I don't have to keep struggling with this every year to change these filters. So, yeah, so most of y'all, this won't really mean much to you, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea what it was and what it looked like. And I'm very happy to hear that fan kicking on the inverter. Very exciting. So I still, I know it's working. So, and I am monitoring that green light on that little remote thing, whatever that is, that we still haven't figured out. So yeah, very excited to hear that. And so I actually have 4 outputs on the converter up here that you can't see because I don't have the phone up high enough. So anyway, there's 4 outlets, okay, and I've only used 2, obviously. So these other 2 I'm going to use for that voltage monitor, and I'm going to probably just tap right into here, into the positive and negative that I'm not using for the camper itself. So anyway, just thought you might want to take a look at that and see what that looked like. Like I said, I'm going to hopefully move this up. Maybe, boy, if I could just get another half an inch out of this thing or so, maybe even if I can get lucky and get it up maybe another inch, boy, that would be a huge help to be able to get these canisters off a lot easier. So there is a spanner wrench that comes with them when you buy them to loosen the lock nuts. So I've got a big large towel to catch all the water because these things are full of water. I tried draining it on the low point drain, and it didn't seem to want to do that. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get these off, and in the meantime, I'm gonna see how much aggravation it's going to be to maybe move that up an inch or so. I'm hoping maybe I can do that, but we'll see. Stay with me. Okay, so as you can see, I was able to move that up probably maybe an inch, which should give me plenty of room now to get those canisters out of there without fighting them every year. So basically all I did was I screwed 2 new screws in about an inch above the ones that were there already before I even took the old ones out. And then all I had to do, I had a clamp that was hitting the pipe back on the back side there for the vent pipe. But so I just had to move the clamp on the hose a little bit, on the water line a little bit, on that blue line back there. But yep, so it just and then when I was ready, I just unscrewed both of the screws that were holding it, moved it up, and dropped it back down. They're all they are is just little. There's a big hole at the bottom if you're familiar with these, and then there's a slot up above it, and they push on and then slide down, and then you just tighten them down. So that's what I did. So let's go ahead and get these filters changed out, and we'll get on to the voltage monitor. And just like that, got both those filters changed out, primary and secondary filters changed out. Took about 10 minutes. Of course, I already had the wall off, so the piece of the wall out, so that help matters. But still in all, I just prefer these because the disposable ones that you buy at Walmart and such, Camping World and all the rest of your big box stores, number one, they're just a single stage filter. And the disposable ones, the blue ones, are about yay long that you put in line in your water line. I just, I prefer to have these things, permanently mounted in here, and then that way once a year I just take this wall off and change them out real quick. Because let's face it, once a year you probably need to clean out all the storage space under here and get rid of stuff that you don't need, which we're going to do here over the weekend. So that's kind of my plan. But so anyway, got the filters changed out. Still looking at this voltage and amperage monitoring panel. Gonna see what's going to be the easiest way to do this. I would really love to have that thing inside, but geez, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to fish some wires through or not. So, and as I'm looking at this under here, I'm not seeing any way that I could really do that without tearing half the inside of the camper apart. So, not really worth it for what I want to use it for. Excuse me. So, I'm probably just going to end up mounting it on this wall right here, somewhere, so that I can monitor it. From just have the monitor down here. So, and I may change the way I've mounted that
little remote control pad. I may drill a hole in the wall and put the plug through the wall so that that wire's not, floating all over the wall like that. But anyway, so that's what I think I'm going to do. So let's get to it. I started talking about the negative cable for the 12-volt system that goes to the batteries. These are the positive and negative cables, so I'm going to have to cut this. Normally you would see this is black, but they call it a common here, and it's white. But this is the negative side, so this is going to be the wire I'm going to have to cut in half and install that. What I was calling a bus bar, but it's called a shunt actually. Install that shunt here, and then run those wires. I'll just have a real short run over to the wall here for both the 12-volt wires, which I'll hook up to these extra 2 terminals on the converter. Sorry, I keep calling it inverter. So I'll just have a nice short run over to the wall right here, instead of having to fish wires all the way through the RV and trying to find them and stuff like that. So I think that's just going to be the easiest way to do it, and it's going to serve the same purpose. It'll allow me to monitor the voltage in the camper, so in case this thing ever goes bad again, hopefully in another 16 years, I'll know that it's not charging before I get to the point where the battery goes dead. So, all right, let's get started on it. Good afternoon. Welcome back to Retired Guy's Garage. So I'm still working on the RV. Power converter's in, all set, working great, charging perfectly, so I'm happy with that. But as I explained, or as I touched on earlier in the video, at the beginning of the video, I still got this, I still want to put this voltage and amperage monitor in. Got to thinking, and I do that sometimes. It doesn't happen very often, and usually when I do, there's smoke involved. So, but I got to thinking, I was like, there's got to be an easier way to put this shunt in this system without having to cut wires and put the lug ends on and crimp those. There's got to be an easier way, right? So I said, you know what? I'm just going to leave it sit for a day, and I'm going to think about it. So sure enough, I did, because the original plan was, and I'll get you flipped around here right quick, and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see the white cable. That's the negative side or common side of the 12-volt system coming from the battery to the inverter. So my thinking was, I'll just cut this wire in half. I'll crimp on some lugs, and I'm like, there has got to be an easier way to do this. So I went ahead and had a brainstorm earlier yesterday, and I said, well, wait a minute, why don't I just disconnect the battery, the ground side of the battery cable, and put the shunt right on the battery? And then that started to make sense, because I didn't have to cut anything. Unbolted the battery cable from here, put it on here, and put this on the battery. So that was what I did. Now we just got to run 2 separate positive and negative cables from here. One is going to be connect to these 2 posts right here, and that's going to measure the amp draw. And then I'm going to go from positive to negative to draw to get the voltage reading on it. So haven't decided exactly where I'm going to put this thing yet. That is actually that's gray that you see there. That is actually the wall to the basement storage. I may put it there just to make it easier, but I'm not sure yet. I would really like to so this is the wall that you just saw from the battery side, and it would be very simple to run that right to there and make my life easier. I could actually kind of mount it right next to or right below this remote control holder, and so that would certainly be easier. Excuse me. I would really like to mount it here, which would require running some extra wire and trying to figure out how I'm going to get that wire through here.
across the bottom, across the top of the basement storage here, and down there, and back in behind this wall right here. So I might still do that. I'm going to see what it's going to take to be able to do that. Might be able to be something as simple as maybe drilling a hole in that support right there on each side, drilling through there, and running the wires, and then just kind of tacking them up here. So, but we'll see. But that's where we're at. Been kind of dodging the rain today. Excuse me, holy cow. So I've been kind of dodging the rain today, so not really a great day for this, but thought I'd kind of give you an update as to what we were doing, what I was doing on this, and where we're at. So that's it for today. It's going to start raining here any second, so I'm going to head back in the house. So, like I said, I'm going to head back in the house because it's fixing to start raining here any second, and they're saying we're in for some pretty good pretty good storms. So I don't really want to be working out in this. Excuse me, my goodness. Wow. So we'll pick this back up tomorrow afternoon, I think. As soon as I get home from work tomorrow, we'll pick this back up and get back on the job. So stick with me, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Retired Guy's Garage. So getting back on, of course, it's a couple of days later now. The whole work thing got in the way. Even though I'm retired, I mean, I still work. Because unfortunately I'm not independently wealthy and I haven't won the lottery recently. So I do still work part-time here and there. Those of you that don't know, I do hold a commercial, I hold a commercial driver's license. So I went out and did a run up to, where did I go? North Carolina. And it was a nice ride up to, where was I? Statesville, North Carolina and back. So yeah, so the work thing got in the way, but we're back on this power converter project on the RV. And if y'all remember, I told you I wanted to be able to monitor the voltage that power inverter is putting out. And the part to do that, the item to do that with is this voltage monitor. It also monitors amperage and current draw, right? Amperage, and there's something else, power draw or something. I don't know what all it does, but the two main things I was worried about were amperage and volts. So this compact little unit will do that very nicely. I was having trouble figuring out where I was going to put it, but I do believe I'm going to put it on that wall over where all the radio and all the hookups are for the outside TV and all that kind of stuff. So you may be wondering why did you make this nice big panel to insert this in? So it's going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but this is meant to snap into something very thin. So a very thin wall of some kind. And the wall that I'm going into is, I believe it's 3/8 plywood, if I'm not mistaken. So, that would take up this entire, almost this entire backside right here. And I would have nowhere to put the wires. So that's why I am putting it, I made this out of plexiglass. Bought some couple of sheets of plexiglass for another project that I had going on, which I never used. So I've got a couple sheets of plexiglass. So that way, if of course that would never happen, but in case this one breaks during installation, but that would never happen, of course. So I had to have enough room. I had to have a hole big enough in the wall where I'm going to mount this in order to be able to screw it in, but also have enough room to get the wiring in to the side and not have it being pinched off by the wall. So I'll have a pretty good gap here, probably a good 1/2 inch gap where I'll be able to put the wires in. Because unfortunately the wires going, you would have thought they would have put the wires in from the back and then had the screws come in from the side, but no such luck. So that's where we're at. So next thing is I got to find a place. I'm going to figure out exactly where I'm going to mount this. I believe I'm just going to mount it right up above the radio, and then I'll keep all the monitoring stuff and all that stuff right in one place. So, and that remote thing, that wired remote thing for the power converter. I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole directly underneath where that's mounted and run that wire back behind the wall, so that wire's not, so I don't have that wire stapled all over the wall. It looks horrible. I hated it when I got done with it, and been driving me crazy, and I want to get that fixed. So stick with me. We'll get this mounted. You can see this doesn't really stay in there very well, so after I get the holes drilled, I may round off the corners of these, just so things don't catch on them, and it probably look a little bit nicer too. But after I get done making all the and I'm happy with the way this looks, I'll go ahead and just put a couple of dabs of super glue. Obviously, it's a smoke colored plexiglass, and there's protective sheets on the front and back. That's what this is. This is not the color of it. Maybe there's not one on the back. Maybe this is the actual color. Yeah, I guess it is. So this is going to be the actual color of it, apparently. Maybe not. Nope, there is protective coating on it. So what I'll do is, when I'm ready to mount this thing for the last time and put it in the wall, I'll go ahead and put a couple of dabs of super glue, maybe 6 dabs of super glue in here, and super glue this to that, and then this will be all one unit. And if I ever do need to, I'll just be 4 screws I'll have to take out, pop it out. So stick with me. Let me get this finished up. Like I said, I do think I'm going to round off these edges, and just to make them look a little bit nicer. And then we'll get started on running some wiring inside the camper to power this thing. The feed wires we'll need from the battery, as I showed you in the last video. I had to install that shunt, that electrical shunt on the negative side of the battery. So we're ready to go. Just got to run some wires, get this mounted, and we'll have some monitoring, electrical monitoring in this nice little unit, and that'll be great. Don't forget, stick around. Keep an eye out for the next video coming up. It'll be Miss Carla's debut and dipping her toes into the YouTube pond, so to speak. getting her feet wet in the waters, I should say. But she's going to help me out. We're going to do a video on some RV must-haves for those of you just getting started. I wish there was something like that out when we got started. Gosh, I don't know. I guess we've been doing this 15 years, I guess. So we've been at it a minute or two, and maybe we can help you out if hopefully you'll take some of the tips and tricks and do's and don'ts, and that'll help you get started. So anyway, stick with me, but most importantly, the first things first, we got to get this monitoring panel put in. So we'll get going on that. Stick with me. We'll be right back. Well, this is the semi-finished product, and I bet you're wondering, how did you get those nice, even, rounded corners in there? There's a trick. Not really. So all I did was I just took a washer, and I said, that looks about the right size. So I just lined it up with both edges, drew a little half circle, and cut it out with made the initial cut with the jigsaw. And then I just cleaned it up a little bit with a file, and that's the finished product. Let's go get this thing installed. We're going to need to run 2 separate positive and negatives, for lack of a better term, positive and negative off of the battery, and then there's going to be 2 separate wires that'll run on each side of this shunt, which will be the amperage feed for that display. We're going to have to go up, and we are going to go right through that aluminum. I don't know if you can really see it or not. Let me get you in a little closer. Maybe you can see it. So there's a piece of aluminum up there that's kind of hard to see. It's up above. See that silver part right above the black? That's one of the aluminum floor rails for the RV itself. So we're going to go right through that and into the basement storage compartment, all the way across the floor, and then drop down behind that other wall. And we will. I'll drill up against the joist to this side so I can hide all the wiring, and you won't even see it. So that's the plan, and I'm going to drill it from the other side so I know it's going to come out exactly where I want it to. So we will get started on that. I've got a nice long, I don't know, I guess maybe 5-inch 5/16 drill bit that I'll use as a pilot drill to drill in, and I'll make sure hopefully I'm going to be able to make the holes big enough that I can get some rubber grommets in there to protect the wiring. So let me get those holes drilled, and I'll be right back. So you can see where the drill bit came through, so that's where we're going to run the wiring. And then let me take you inside here right quick, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, because I know it probably sounded confusing when I was talking about it a few minutes ago. So I'm going to run it right up along this joist right here. We'll put a couple of wire holders in here and stuff, and then that way it'll be hidden behind here and you won't be able to see it. And like I said, I want to make sure I try and get those holes drilled out big enough so I can put some grommets in there so I can run that wiring through the grommets instead of through the aluminum. So, and then we'll run it all the way across. We'll drop it down over this bar right here, over this piece of wood right here. We'll drop it down into this area, run it through here, and then there's another wire loom back in behind the wall here that I'm going to run it through. And then this is that remote control that I'm going to reposition, because I just didn't like the way it looked with that wire all on the wall like that. So I'll drill another hole for that. But I'm going to put everything, I'll put the monitor right here above the radio, and then probably up above that I'll put that probably up in this area I'll put that remote control pod on the wall here. So everything for the all the monitors and controls and everything for the power converter will be right here in one place, and they'll be up out of the way and easy to see just by popping this, because nothing will be in the way of it when we've got all the stuff in the basement storage. So that's the plan. Now we just got to do it. Stay with me, I'll be right back. Got the inside hole drilled. I'm going to drill it from each side just so I don't start busting drill bits unnecessarily by, getting them in a wrong angle or something. So I'm just going to drill the other one from the other side. I'll have to be out there anyway to put the other grommet in. But yep, so I got the grommet in there, and like I said, we'll just run the wiring right up to here, right along this this floor joist right here. And but yeah, so next step is I'll go out on the other side of this joist and get the other hole drilled out to accept the grommet, and that's where we'll bring the wires through. So disregard that other hole. We'll just that was an oops, and we'll just disregard that. Okay, stick with me. All right, so got this is going to be the 12 volt battery feed wire, and I've got my two, hate to use them, but solderless connectors that'll connect the battery power, so positive and negative. And then take you inside here in just a second, so you can see they run up through the grommet. That wiring runs right up through the grommet. Just put some wire holders there to party it up just a little bit. Then ran it across, and like I said, I'll drop it down on the other side of that wooden bar, and then there's a couple that wooden the wooden bracket right there. What am I? Anyway, and I'll run it through the wiring. These wiring holders right here, these wiring looms right here. So getting there. I think I'm going to run the next one. I'm going to just kind of eyeball how much wire I'll need to run that direction to get to the monitor and cut it. Even if I'm a little long, that's okay. And then I'll run the second wire right below this one. And use these. So all I did was just use some self-tapping screws and these little wire looms, so to hold those in there. So anyway, all right, let me get started on that next one. The second wire for the amperage wire, feed wire, and I'll be back in just a little while. And we're back. All right, I'll just get you caught up here. So we got the second wire run. I temporarily hooked up the battery power wire, just to make sure that I was going to put the gauge in the monitor in the right way. And then there's the second wire for the amp monitor wiring. So got both the wires run, and I went ahead and removed this board from the wall because there was wiring behind there. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to hit any wiring, because, that would be a bad day. Never good when you start cutting into wiring in your RV. That usually ends up badly. Anyway, so all I did was I took this plate that I had made, set it up there, made a mark on the inside and on the four corners on the outside, just to kind of gauge where I was. And then all I did was just make a mark in between those two lines. Kind of freehanded it. Didn't really measure that out, but just had to make sure that this would fit in there and that the wiring would have enough room to go in. So, with that being said, I got to get this mounted, and then I can put that board back in place, bring that wiring through, so that I can hook up to the monitor and hook it up on the other end, and we'll be ready to go. I can now start putting this thing back together. So stick with me, and we'll come back in just a few minutes. And there it is, the finished product. Disregard the super glue everywhere, kind of got messy, but hey, it's in. I went ahead and mounted that Charge Wizard pendant right next to it, so everything's kind of in one central location. And yeah, everything's working good. You can see the power current. Current is measured in amperage. You can see the amps there, 0.07 amps, and the power they're measuring in wattage, which is 1.0 watts. It's drawn right now, so not really much on in the camper right now. I think like the a couple of the detectors are on and stuff like that. 13.68 volts, right where it should be. So this is going to be a wrap. So yeah, I think it came out really nice. I'm glad I mounted it over here. Certainly would have liked to have had it in the camper, inside the camper, but there's just no way to run wires up there without pulling out walls and pulling up floors and all that good stuff. So got a lot of cleaning up to do, a lot of sawdust, a lot of metal shavings from drilling into the subfloor here or the subframe to run the wiring. But I guess I got some cleaning up to do, and I think we're ready for camping. Good wash, and should be ready to go. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. If you're just a recap, sort of, we changed out the power inverter because it wasn't charging the batteries anymore. Was 11.86 volts, I think, when I checked it with the voltmeter. So that's not good. As you can see with the voltmeter now hooked up to it, we're at 13.68 volts, right where it's supposed to be. So changed out the inverter. Went ahead and added the monitor panel because probably never have this happen again. I mean, like I said, we've had this camper 10 years now, I guess. Got it in 14. So yeah, we've had it 10 years, and this is the first time, obviously the first time we've changed it. I've actually never changed one of the inverters. I've never changed an inverter before. So we all kind of learned together on this one. But hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. I realize this isn't something, not everybody will want to tackle, but, I went ahead and went for it, and it all worked out just fine. So follow the instructions and, use some common sense and a logical process, and I think you'd be fine. Basically just unbolting a couple, unscrewing a couple wires and unplugging it. So I'm plugging it all back together the way it came out. But as always, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. If you like the video, make sure you mash that like button, and of course, hit the notification bell so you can get notifications when I upload new material, which is generally every Friday or Saturday. I'm uploading about a video a week, so make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can get notified when I've got a new video coming out. But nonetheless, watch for it generally on Fridays and Saturdays. So as always, I'm Jeff Richter. This is the Retired Guy's Garage. Bye for now, and we'll see you on the next one. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching.